Hi there. This is David Weiss, your board game concierge here at 401 Games, and this week's Smorgasboard is the expansion to Later Games' 2018 hit Root, the Clockwork expansion. I'm a big fan of Root. Some call it a war game, which at first I kind of balked at. It didn't really feel like a war game to me at first, but the more I thought about it, the more I feel like if we can call GMT's counterinsurgency games like Fire in the Lake or Cuba Libre war games, which they certainly are in my eyes, then Root is one too. In fact, whether or not it was intentional, Root has a lot in common with the coin games from GMT. They're very asymmetric. Each faction has a different path to victory. There's point-to-point movement, area control, and so on. And all factions play from a common deck. Root also has some of the same problems/challenges that the counterinsurgency games have, including a pretty steep learning curve and really needing a full player count to make things shine. So from the beginning, the coin series had the option to swap in bots for one or more of the players. In the world of Root, the Riverfolk expansion included a mechanical marquise, so you could at least automate that faction, and you could even play cooperatively against it. Now, Later has gone whole hog, or whole cat, whole eagle, whole rabbit, and whole raccoon, by introducing full-blown bots for all 4 of the base game factions. So let's take a look and see if this standalone expansion is for you. So what you get in the box for Root Clockwork expansion are basically just some extra bits. The main parts are these 4 new player boards, the Law of Root Botics, a couple of extra 12-sided die, and some cards which basically let you set the level of difficulty, and also the traits you can set for your bot opponents so that they play differently, different strategies each game. There's some general rules and procedures at the front of the rule book. They explain how to place these priority markers on the board so that if you need to break ties when going to a new location. And then they set out the rules for each of the 4 characters. The Mechanical Marquise Mark II, the Electric Aerie, the Automated Alliance, and the Vagabot. And even more importantly, they give you sample turns for each of them, which is really important to see how the rules play out for each one. So basically, each bot follows a modified version of Birdsong, Daylight, and Evening. And they do basically what they would do if they were a human character, but they don't use cards. They don't have a hand of cards, let's put it this way. You will turn over the top card of the deck, and the suit of the card plus possibly the thing that would be crafted down here depending on the character, and you'll use it as a kind of randomizer to determine what that critter would do. So for example, for the Electric Aerie, you would reveal a card, craft it for a point if it's available, and then you add it, then you would add it to the decree column. But you'll notice the decree columns here are different from the ones in the base game. These ones are sorted by suit. What you would then do is, you would resolve the decree from left to right, but you would do it by suit. So basically, first you would recruit, then move, and then battle for fox, and then mouse, and then rabbit, and then wild, depending on how many cards were in each column. And then you would build, and then you would score. For the alliance, you would reveal a card and craft it, and then depending on the suit of the card, you would revolt, you would possibly spread sympathy an extra time, and then during daylight, you would definitely spread sympathy if possible, or else score, and possibly, if the suit of the card was a bird, then you would get to revolt, and then in the evening you would organize and recruit. And at every step of the way, you would make decisions based on the criteria in the step. So really, all the game systems and rules remain the same with just a few changes. For one, you're not allowed to ambush the bot players, so those cards are going to be less valuable to you as the human players. The Vagabond treats all items as identical, so that helps streamline things along. And whenever you have a choice about which clearing to move to, you use the priority markers to break ties, and the rules tell you where to put them when the game starts. The one major change is that the bots can never win by domination, only by getting to 30 points, which, believe me, is not a problem for any of them. They all play very aggressively. If you're playing solo or with 2 players, then you take out the domination cards altogether, and so it's a race for 30 points for everyone, which is a little unfortunate because it changes the game, but in my opinion, is a small price to pay. So that's it. So the question is, do you need this Clockwork expansion if you have Root? If you belong to a group that never has problem filling the table with all 4 factions, or you're satisfied with just playing 2 or 3, then no, you don't need it. But if you've always wanted a chance to play with all the factions, you've never had a chance because you just can't bring it to the table, and teaching it is a pretty big job, then the Clockwork expansion is kind of a must-buy, especially if you're a solo gamer. I would say it's even more of a must-buy than the Underworld or the Riverfolk expansion. Even without the option to win a domination victory, you get about 90% of the game's experience. But my one caution is that implementing the bots is a challenge, especially if you're not fully comfortable with the root system or the rule of the root to begin with. Speaking as a veteran of the GMT coin series and many other complex solo games, I didn't find it that hard. But if you're not used to working through a scripted series of actions and priorities and so on, then it's going to be a slog at first and for a while. And trying to learn root and how to implement the bots at the same time would be a huge challenge. Not insurmountable, but pretty big. With all that said, click on the link below to order your copy of the Clockwork expansion if it's what you want. This is David Weiss, your board game concierge here at 401 Games. See you next time. Thanks for watching. Ciao.